Imagine you wake up tomorrow and all debt is gone. Your mortgage papers turn to dust. Your credit cards are zero. The national debt vanished. It sounds like a paradise, right? But within hours, the chaos begins. Your bank account is empty. ATMs flash red. System error. Supermarket shelves are stripped bare. This isn't a fantasy. It's the only possible outcome in a system where money is debt. And paying it all off would break the world. This is the invisible scaffolding holding our civilization together. The United States now sits under a mountain of promises worth over $38 trillion. Across the Atlantic, the European Union owes around $14 trillion. Japan, almost $9 trillion. Even the giants, Saudi Arabia, Germany, China, are all borrowers. But stop for a moment. Let the numbers fade away and consider the logic. If every single country is a borrower, who is the lender? The figures become meaningless. We are living inside a system where total debt is a monstrous, pulsating sphere worth $315 trillion, dwarfing the entire global economy 3 times over. Every 100 days, another trillion is added to the pile. This is not a system designed for repayment. It's a planetary game of hot potato, built on a single, fragile foundation, confidence. So we must ask the real trillion-dollar question. If everyone owes money, who exactly do we owe it to demand? To find the lender, we have to travel back in time. Back to the birth of the machine. The year is 1694. Cannon smoke chokes the fields of Europe. England is bleeding men and treasure in a brutal war against France. The king's ambition is enormous, but his vaults are empty. The war machine isn't failing for lack of courage, it's failing for lack of coin. An empire is about to die before it's even born. Then, an idea, not from a general or a king, but from the merchants of London. They offer a deal. They won't just give the crown money. They will loan it. In exchange, the crown must promise them a piece of its power, a permanent river of interest payments, fed by the only thing a government can create forever, the future taxes of its people. To manage this massive engine of debt, a private company is created, the Bank of England. And just like that, the world changes forever. This piece of paper, this government bond, is more than a loan. It's a technology, a financial weapon, more powerful than any cannon. The idea escapes England's shores, spreading like fire. France, the Netherlands, and soon the young United States all build their own versions of the machine. The Americans even use this English financial blueprint to fund a revolution against the English themselves. In this new world, the logic flips. Debt is no longer a sign of weakness. It becomes the ultimate sign of trust. The larger the debt a nation can handle, the more powerful it appears. The system isn't built on repayment. It's built on the promise of asterisk more. More debt, more power, more growth. But this creates a terrifying clock, ticking down to one question: what happens when the promises stop? We are told the world is drowning in debt, a number so vast it defies imagination. But this raises a simple, unnerving question. If everyone is in debt, who exactly do we owe the money to? The answer isn't a person. It's a machine. A global shell game played in an endless ballroom, lined with mirrors. Every wall reflects a government building, a central bank, stretching into infinity. Let's start with the biggest number on the board, America's $38 trillion debt. The search for the lender starts here. About half of that mountain of cash is traded as bonds, the paper foundation of our financial world. And when we look closer, the game reveals its first trick. Most of that debt is owned by Americans. It sits inside our own banks, our insurance companies, even the Federal Reserve. It's the quiet foundation of your pension, your parents' savings. The money makes a perfect circle. Your tax dollars flow to Washington to pay the interest. That interest then flows right back into the retirement accounts of your neighbors, your family, and you. The debtor and the creditor are staring at each other in the same mirror. Of course, a chunk of this debt, about $9 trillion, does leave the country. This is where the headlines catch fire. Japan holds $1 trillion. China holds $800 billion. The UK, Belgium, a whole list of countries hold a piece. But this is where the story gets twisted. China's stake is often painted as a weapon aimed at America's throat. The reality: It's just 2% of the total debt. A splinter, not a sword. It all looks like a stable system, a delicate web of global trust. But this neat picture hides a darker secret. It answers who holds the paper, but not the real question: where did the money come from in the first place? The answer is, it was never there. The mirrors flicker, and behind them is just a dark, empty void. Central banks don't just move money, they create it from nothing. When the government needs cash, the Federal Reserve buys its bonds. And in that keystroke, new dollars flash into existence. This is the system's core secret. There is no such thing as debt-free money. Every dollar in your wallet is an IOU. Every number in your bank account is just a piece of someone else's debt. And this machine is global. Japan lends to the US, America lends to Europe, Europe lends to smaller countries. And in the final twist, those same small countries lend right back, buying American and European bonds for their own national savings. It's a planetary game of hot potato. The system doesn't survive by getting rid of the debt. It survives by passing it on, forever. The whole thing only works if the ball never, ever stops moving. But that raises the final terrifying question: what happens when the motion stops? We're all taught that debt is a weight to be lifted, a chain to be broken. So why don't the most powerful governments on earth just pay it all back? Why not have a bonfire with all those bonds and declare victory? The answer is the system's first ugly secret. It was never built to be paid back. It was built to be passed on, forever. This isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. Think of that global hot potato. When one person's bond is due, the government doesn't open a vault. It just finds someone new to hold the potato, using their cash to pay off the last person. This is the engine of the modern world. Look at Japan. Its debt is more than double the size of its entire economy, and has been for decades. Yet the country doesn't collapse. The game just keeps going. Because every player knows the real goal isn't to get your money back. It's to keep the ball in the air. But this isn't just clever accounting. The truth is much darker. The system avoids repayment not because it's hard. It avoids repayment because paying it all back would burn the world to the ground. This is the great twist. What we call debt, that simple U.S. Treasury bond, isn't a weakness. In the world's financial system, it is the safest money there is. It's the steel frame inside the skyscraper. Your pension fund, your bank, every central bank on the planet, they all use this American debt as their ultimate backup plan. It's that invisible scaffolding holding the whole thing up. If the government suddenly paid it all off, that steel frame would vanish. The bedrock would turn to dust. The money supply would shrink so fast it would create a black hole, sucking the life out of the entire global economy. So the goal isn't to get rid of the debt. The goal is to keep it under control, to manage the belief. The plan is not repayment. It is the endless performance of confidence. But if this giant mountain of debt is the foundation of our world, what happens when the first cracks begin to show? The entire global economy rests on a foundation of belief. But when that belief shatters, the price comes due with brutal speed. The first crack appears as a number on a screen, a stock market ticker flashing red before it glitches and goes dark. The signal starts in the market. Here, the price a nation pays to borrow money isn't set by governments. It's set by trust. A rumor, a bad report, a moment of panic, and the system turns on itself. We see it in 2010, as Greece's debt suddenly becomes junk. Investors run for the exits. The cost to borrow money explodes. The whole financial structure collapses, leaving behind empty storefronts, jobless workers, and fires on the streets of Athens. The pattern echoes. In Argentina, a nation known for broken promises. In Sri Lanka, the money runs out, sparking fuel lines that stretch for miles and the toppling of a government. These are the loud failures, the earthquakes that level entire economies. But the real price is rarely paid in one violent crash. It's paid every day, in silence. It is a slow, quiet drain of wealth. Think of a stream of coins, flowing from millions of kitchen tables, all moving upwards into a single massive steel tower. Every interest payment is a coin taken from a taxpayer, from a worker. It flows directly into the vaults of those who own the debt. This isn't a side effect. It's how the machine is designed to work. It rewards those who own the promise and punishes those who must pay for it. Global debt and global inequality rise together. They are two sides of the same coin. Governments issue the debt, banks multiply it, investors trade it, and we all get trapped in the game, blurring the line between who owes the money and who owns the paper. The whole system works until the moment it can't, when new borrowing is not enough to pay for the old promises. Debt, after all, is a promise. And this is a promise that cannot be kept forever.